With Lightfall out, it is finally time to go over the first of many builds related to Strand, and this week we're going to look at a Hunter build that I have been playing with since I beat the Legendary campaign, and it has been probably one of my favorite builds to use as it utilizes the verb Suspend on our Strand subclass to allow us to just get free kills and free severing rounds, free class ability energy, and even get some of your grenade energy back. So without further ado, a quick word from our sponsors and we'll get right into this video. So now that the artifact works like passive unlocks, we are now going to go over the unlocks that I used on my artifacts, specifically the ones that are related to this build. The first things you're going to want to unlock are the Strand and Grenade unlock authorization mods. They're in that second column. These make our Grenade and Strand related mods cost 1 instead of the normal cost, which will allow us to stack a lot of these mods into the build to get them to work the way we want them to work. The second one we're going to unlock is Untangler. Destroying a tangle with a Strand weapon suspends targets damaged by the explosion. With the Strand subclass, along with our weapon of choice, we'll be making a tangle every time that ridiculous 15-second cooldown is over, meaning we can help use these to suspend targets and deal us some damage, since this entire build is based around just keeping targets suspended for long durations of time. We're going to unlock Allied Unraveling. Rapid final blows with a Strand weapon grant your weapon unraveling rounds with a longer duration near allies. Again, we're using a Strand weapon, so all we need to do is get rapid kills to get these unraveling rounds. Now, Unravel is a verb off the subclass that when enemies are affected by it, when they take additional damage, they will create unraveling projectiles that seek out nearby targets, damaging them as well. Now, these are really nice to have. They deal a little bit extra damage, especially if these targets are suspended. There's nowhere they can run. The targets are easily going to be hit by these seeking projectiles. The last thing we're going to unlock is Threaded Blast. Destroying a tangle with a Strand weapon creates a larger, more damaging explosion. This plays heavily into Untangler, increasing the effectiveness of that mod, as well as the base tangles as well, allowing them to do more damage. So artifacts have now gone over. Let's get into the class setup that I use for this particular build. The first thing we're going to look at is Widow's Silk. You have an additional grenade charge. Your grapples create a grapple tangle at the grapple point. Now, while I very much so enjoy the grapple grenade, this build is all about suspending. So we're going to use the shackle grenades instead, which when thrown will suspend targets and send out sub-projectiles, which will also suspend. Now we have 2 of these and they can cover a large area, allowing us to suspend multiple targets at once, and it's very, very nice to have. Very good utility to have with a build that's all about suspending enemies and keeping them out of the fight. The second thing we're going to look at is Ensnaring Slam. Activate your air move to consume your class ability energy and dive to the ground, suspending all nearby targets on impact. Using this ability extends your class ability cooldown. This will give us another easy way to suspend targets. Even with the extended class ability cooldown, it still comes back very quickly, and my Hunter doesn't have the best of mobility, so if you have more than me, this will be even better, including some of the fragments that we're using, which we're going to go over right now, which include Thread of Mind. Defeating suspended targets grant class ability energy. Now with Ensnaring Slam, we'll be suspending targets using our class ability, so by defeating those targets, we will get some of our class ability energy back, plus the suspend from our grenades, we're going to help us get that back as well. Thread of Wisdom. Defeating suspended targets with precision final blows create an orb of power. Suspended targets are not that hard to get precision final blows on, meaning we can get easy orbs of powers to feed into our new armor charge system. Thread of Isolation. Landing rapid precision hits emits a severing burst from the target. This is for the same reason as the last one. Suspended targets are very easy to land precision hits on, allowing us to get that severing burst very, very easily. And finally, we're going to look at Thread of Generation. Dealing damage generates grenade energy with a -10 to discipline. This is probably one of the best, if not the best, fragment for Strand. Just by dealing damage with anything, that would be your weapons or your other abilities, you will generate small amounts of grenade energy very, very quickly, meaning we can get our shackle grenades back very quickly as well, allowing us to throw more suspensions out there and allowing us to keep the battlefield pretty well controlled with these suspensions, and then allowing us to feed back into a lot of our artifact mods and back into a lot of our fragments, which is supported by the weapons and the armor mods that we chose, as well as our exotic armor piece. So the weapon that I chose for this build is the exotic auto rifle Quicksilver Storm, which with its catalyst completed turns it into a Strand weapon, which will allow us to do all the cool things with the tangles and paired with the mods and our unlocks off of the artifact itself. Now, it has the exotic perk Rocket Tracers. Landing multiple hits turns your next shot into a homing micro rocket. Now, these little rockets do do quite a bit of damage and they can track, so that's nice as well. For its trait, it has Grenade Chaser. Landing multiple rockets loads a grenade. Hold, reload to switch into grenade launcher mode. Now these do a ton of damage and build up very quickly due to this auto rifle being a rapid fire frame. Now alongside the other function of the catalyst, which is when defeating a target with one of these grenades, it turns them into a tangle, which plays very heavily into this build due to our artifact unlocks playing into the fact that when destroying a tangle, it suspends targets and damages them. If you don't have Quicksilver Storm or its catalyst unlocked, the other strand weapons are also extremely good options to use. You have the auto rifle off of the Season of Defiance stuff, and the SMG that you can get out of the terminal overload inside, I believe it's Lamling Harbor, whatever that place is called, the harbor. You get it from the harbor terminal control things, whatever they're called. So you can use those as well. Those are both two very good options. You just won't get the ability to make the extra tangle, but honestly with this build, I make so many tangles that it doesn't really even matter because the cooldown is absolutely ridiculous. For our armor, we're simply running 6 Coyote, which comes with an extremely simple perk, Double Dodge. And you guessed it, it just gives you a second dodge, which can be turned into another Ensnaring Slam if you wanted it to be so. Now for mods on our armor, for our helmet, we're running Strand Siphon. This will allow our strand weapons to make orbs of power to feed into our armor charges. I'm running double Ashes to Assets. Shackle grenades do a surprisingly large amount of damage, so when they get a kill, it'll feed into our super, and the Hunter Super Silk Strike is extremely powerful. Now for our arms, we're going to be running Firepower. This mod now generates orbs on grenade kills, again to feed into our armor charge system. I would rather use the Reaper mod on our class item, but that's been disabled, so Firepower it is. And again, since shackle grenades are quite good at dealing damage and killing minor enemies, then we may as well make some orbs out of it. Bolstering Detonation. When we deal damage with our shackle grenades, we will get energy back for our dodge, which then can be used to suspend more targets with Ensnaring Slam. And finally, Grenade Kickstart. By using our grenade, we get grenade energy back, and when we have stacks of armor charge, it will consume all stacks and grant a bonus energy to your grenade. With how this works now in the current armor charge system, we can now use this mod with multiple grenade charges and still feel its effects. For our chest, I'm just running double charged up. More stacks of armor charge means more grenade energy from grenade kickstart when we want, so put as many as you can. I only put the 1 because again I had to sacrifice a spot for firepower. For our legs, we're going to be running stacks on stacks. Picking up an orb of power will grant us 2 stacks of armor charge, letting us get to the maximum amount we can carry quicker to get more out of grenade kickstart faster. The quicker we can get to that max, the more energy we're going to get back when we throw our grenade. And then we're also going to run double innervation. Picking up these orbs will grant us grenade energy. Since this whole armor system is about generating orbs and picking them up, these mods are extremely good and probably one of the best mods you can run, as we pretty much generate an orb just from looking at enemies now. So these play very heavily into a lot of the builds moving forward because again, all you need to do is pick up an orb and you get its effects, whether it be healing, grenade, melee, all of your class abilities or whatever it is. These mods are extremely powerful in this new system and do not overlook them. And finally, for our cloak, I'm simply running triple bomber. When using our class ability, we will get grenade energy back. Like I mentioned earlier, I'd rather use the Reaper mod to make orbs here, but it's disabled. So we'll just run 3 bomber mods for the time being. Once it's re-enabled, swap out firepower for another grenade kickstart, and then put Reaper mod in your cloak if you want to do it this way instead, which is something I'm going to try to see if it's even worth it. Personally, for me, I would rather dodge to make an orb because my dodge cooldown is a lot quicker, but of course, with all the things that we're stacking, our grenades come back really fast as well. But with that, that is the end of our build video. Now, I know that this build can be optimized to be a lot better, and I think it works also very well basically with the same base idea on the Titan subclass as well, but I don't have my Titan Strand unlocked. I just started running through the campaign this week for that. I'm running on Legendary so I can get the exotic, the Ambient Leap, so I can see about making a build with that, because honestly, it looks really fun. But if I don't get it done before this weekend, which I probably should because I am not participating in a day 1 race, so this weekend I should be able to do the rest of the Legendary campaign, get the exotic, make a build for it, have it up by the end of next week, and then repeat the process with my Warlock and do the same thing with my Warlock, get a nice Strand build out, hopefully before the end of next week. Who knows? I might just sit down and just absolutely grind out a ton of the Legendary campaign on both my characters, and then grind out a ton of Strand meditations and just get it done. But we'll see. If not, you'll have other builds coming to you, usually probably either Solar or Void, as those are our main elements this season that we're working with along alongside of Strand, so I'm going to focus on those, and then later in the season you might get some stasis builds with the Titan helmet and the Warlock arms. But with that, I hope everybody who is participating in that day 1 has a good time, gets some loot, gets through it, and maybe even get a completion, and I hope everybody has a good week.